battle. The breakthrough at Sedan was a decisive battle during the Western Campaign of World War II, taking place from May 13 to 15, 1940. The battle was a crucial part of the German plan to encircle the Allied armies in Belgium and northeastern France. The tank group of Kleist, which began its offensive on May 10, broke through the wooded highlands of the Ardennes, overcoming the resistance of two divisions of Belgian Ardennes shooters, and also forced the French cavalry, armored units sent as reinforcements to abandon the defensive line at Semua. On May 12, the senior aide to Hitler, Colonel Schmundt, arrived at Kleist's headquarters. The Führer wanted to know if Kleist intended to attempt to cross the Meuse the next day or if he was going to wait for List to arrive. Kleist replied that he would attack immediately, so as not to lose time. Hitler approved this decision and ordered air support from the dive bombers of the 8th Air Corps under General Baron Wolfram von Richthofen. That evening, Kleist summoned Guderian and ordered him to force the Meuse and attack the enemy in the Sedan area. The operation was to begin at 4 p.m. the next day, May 13. Guderian indicated that he only had 2 divisions at his disposal, as the 2nd Panzer Division on his northern flank was at that moment tied down by stubborn French resistance in the Semua sector. He wanted to postpone the crossing until he had the forces of the entire corps at his disposal. Kleist refused to consider the objections and ordered the attack to begin with the forces available. A similar order was given to the commander of the 41st Motorized Corps, Reinhardt. Guderian intended to attack with the division located in the center, the 1st Panzer Division. A massive strike was launched west of Sedan. This division was reinforced by the Grossdeutschland Regiment. For the artillery support of the 1st Panzer Division, units of the Corps Artillery, as well as the artillery regiment of nearby divisions, were assigned. Sedan was defended by the 55th and 71st French Infantry Divisions, which were not known for their high level of combat training. The 71st Infantry Division was in even worse condition, being equipped with anti-tank guns and anti-aircraft guns at less than 50%, and out of 17,000 soldiers and officers in its personnel, 7,000 were either on leave or reported sick. The Grossdeutschland Regiment crossed the river in inflatable boats and on pontoons, landing on the western outskirts of Sedan. After circumnavigating the city, it captured the key heights of Marf at 7 p.m. Following the Grossdeutschland, the infantry of the 1st Motorized Brigade of the 1st Tank Division crossed to the other side around 7:30 p.m., reaching the heights of Marf. Shortly thereafter, in the dark, 2 infantry battalions of the 10th Tank Division joined these units after crossing the Meuse southwest of the city as twilight began. The sappers established the crossing in 38 minutes, and immediately a flood of infantry and anti-tank guns poured across. By midnight, a 16-ton bridge was constructed at Glara. That same evening, the first parts of Guderian's corps reached the Meuse near Sedan, shortly after the last French units had crossed the river and the bridges had been blown up. Due to the delay of the artillery, Guderian, together with the commander of the 2nd Air Corps Bruno Lorzer, developed a plan for the crossing, which involved successive waves of airstrikes on French positions. The offensive across the river was planned to begin no earlier than noon, as Guderian wanted to wait for his delayed 2nd Panzer Division to take up positions. The targeted prolonged bombardment that began on the morning of May 13 and reached its peak shortly before the assault by ground troops in the afternoon broke the psychological resistance of the French defenders of the 55th and 71st Infantry Divisions, who began to abandon their positions with the capture of Height 301, La Boulette, by advancing German units that had crossed over in rubber boats. Meanwhile, rumors began to circulate among the French artillerymen that German tanks had already appeared on the heights of Marf and reached Bolson, a village 5 miles south of Sedan. These rumors were false from beginning to end. Not a single tank had crossed the river yet. The colonels commanding the heavy artillery regiment of the 10th Corps and the support group of the 55th Division ordered their units to withdraw and then disappeared themselves. In panic, the 55th Division abandoned most of its guns. The division dispersed, with some of its units fleeing nonstop all the way to Reims, which is 100 kilometers from Sedan. The pontoon bridge in Fluine was completed around midnight, and at about 7:30 a.m. on May 14, the first German tanks crossed the Maas. Soon, a bridgehead measuring 5 miles wide and 5 miles deep was under Guderian's control. By dawn, he managed to ferry an entire tank brigade across the river. Around 7 o'clock on May 14, the left attack group consisting of the French 213th Infantry Regiment and the 7th Tank Battalion began a counterattack in the direction of Sedan. Warned by reconnaissance aircraft, the commander of the 1st Panzer Division, Kirchner, immediately sent the 1st German Tank Company toward Bolson, where it arrived around 8:45 a.m., but it was destroyed by the approaching French task force. When the 2nd Tank Company arrived, the French attack was halted. After the arrival of another tank company and infantry from the Grossdeutschland Regiment, the Germans counterattacked and pushed the French back. In the valley of the Bar River towards Châtel-Sensoir, the French attack was halted at the crossing east of Connage by 2 platoons of anti-tank guns, 3.7 cm Pak 36, of the Grossdeutschland Regiment. And here the outcome of the battle was determined only by the arrival of a tank company and 8.8 cm anti-aircraft guns. After the arrival of additional infantry reinforcements, the Germans counterattacked and pushed the French back to the south, where by noon they abandoned Camery and important bridges over the Ardennes Canal and Bar at Malmy intact. On May 14, 170 French and English planes carried out an air raid on the German crossings over the Meuse River, but it was unsuccessful. 85 Allied planes, 50 French and 35 English, were shot down. The crossings could not be destroyed. However, the German Air Force successfully secured the crossing of their troops over the Meuse. Around 1400 hours, Guderian ordered the 1st and 2nd Armored Divisions to attack with all their forces across the bridges to the west. Earlier, the 2nd Armored Division had crossed the bridges near Pont-et-Bar. 2 French reinforced Army Corps, 5 divisions, including an armored division and remnants of the X-Corps, under the command of General Flavigny were ordered to counterattack, but influenced by the spreading rumors of massive German tank assaults, the general decided to initially go on the defensive and only attacked at Seden on May 15, where he became bogged down for 3 days in tactical battles around that village. This meant that the advancing German tanks of Kleist's group were able to advance almost unhindered on May 15. Having crushed 2 weak infantry divisions of the 2nd Army under S. Hunsteiger, Guderian's tank corps struck against the right flank of the 9th Army under E. Korup, entering the rear of the French troops. The defeat of the French at Sedan left the Allies in Belgium virtually unprotected on the southern flank. Military historians agree that the Battle of Sedan decided the fate of Belgium and France.